educate a lot of people, in the sense, and counsel also a lot of people, nurture people through many online and offline courses that we have, which we can go through the website that she has, www.drnutan.com. That is the website. And Dr. Nutan Pakhare has more than 20 years of experience in Ayurveda, and looking forward to learn more and more things. And over to you, Dr. Nutan.
So, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining in this Sunday evening e-series, e-talk series on health. And today's topic, as I have shared with everyone, that is Ayurveda for healthy progeny. And we have with us eminent speaker and practitioner, Dr. Milind Patil. It is our pleasure again, the series which we have continuing, which is started from him, and now today is part 2. Just for the new participant who have joined us today. So for them, let me introduce a little bit about Dr. Milind Patil. So Dr. Milind Patil is senior pharmaceutical physician and academician. Currently is working with medical marketing consultant for Millennium Life Science. But in past, he has worked with well-known Ayurveda pharma company like Dudh Papeshwar, Themis, Kupran, Raptox, Charak Pharma, and many more. The beauty of Dr. Milind Patil's lecture is always, the simplicity and the way he carry his own way of convincing or presenting the topic in a beautiful way of PowerPoint presentation, so that it can become a visual understanding, as well as his voice is so calming and quiet, and you will definitely feel like to be in the meditation. So with this, I think without much delay, I would like to forward this session to Dr. Milind Patil. Sir, welcome back on AYG Academy platform. And now it's all yours. Platform is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Nutan, for that invitation and your explanation and description about me. Okay, it does make me really under pressure. But then let us take our presentation forward in the sense that last time we did speak about the basics of healthy progeny, and we did really talk in details about spermatogenic activity and the role of the importance of spermatogenesis, the importance of healthy sperm in healthy progeny. That was the main focus point. Today we will understand and about what about the female thing and what about the pregnancy part of it, because we did travel. Before I start my presentation, as usual, I remember my Guruji. For all those who are attending today's program, I will tell one anecdote. Whenever I went to Dr. Vyas or Vaidya Vyasji with some reference which went against the principles of Ayurveda, then he used to say that they have to learn many things, they're wrong. But then I used to tell him that, sir, this is the latest research publication and it talks about something anti-Ayurvedic principle. And then he used to say, Milind, if it is against Ayurvedic principles, then that is a wrong research. And then another day, another week, another month, I used to carry a very positive article published in Modern Sciences about talking about health benefits of fasting, etc. And I used to show this report to him. So fasting has number of health benefits. That is what this modern research tells us. Then he used to say, Milind, then this is the right research. So he was so convinced about Ayurveda's infallibility that he said that this is going to be eternal science. And that is what I feel, that he was so right in his predictions. So much so that I got this reference quotation of some scientist, professor, mathematician. He said that in these days of conflict between ancient and modern studies, there must surely be something to be said for a study which did not begin with Pythagoras and will not end with Einstein, but is the oldest and youngest of all. These last two words, but is the oldest, like Ayurveda, and youngest of all. Ayurveda is ever eternal science. That is what Guruji always emphasized. He was so convinced about his thoughts that he used to fight against the modern research contradicting Ayurvedic principles. And today in 2023, 2022, I know for sure, I started working with him from 1977 or so. I became a student in 77. I became his colleague in the department 1988. And till his death, I was a very close associate with him. And I know for sure that he fought for Ayurveda's honor. And today he would have been a very happy person, knowing fully well that Ayurveda is being accepted the world over. And that's how we go ahead. He was fond of this group Charak Samhita, the book. The one book of Ayurveda, Charak Samhita. The conclusion of this book is that Yad iha asti tat anyatra. Whatever is described in this book is available elsewhere too. Yad na iha asti na tat kvachit. If you don't find something in this book, then you won't find it anywhere in the world. So Charak Samhita is all comprehensive health science philosophy of Ayurveda. That was his conviction. Yad iha asti, whatever is described in this book, you will find it elsewhere too. But you don't find something here, don't look for it elsewhere because you won't get it there. That is how his conviction was. And just try to understand, my friends, how does Charak Samhita begin? Charak Samhita begins with the description of descent of Ayurveda. How did Ayurveda come into being on earth? That is described in first chapter. And what was the objective of bringing Ayurveda to the earth? The objective was, for life, you have to achieve certain objectives like dharma, artha, kam, and moksha. And if you are not healthy, if you are a sick person, if you are a diseased person, then your life do not really act to achieve these objectives like dharma, artha, kam, and moksha. And therefore, for healthy life, for sukhi life, we give you the means. That is what Ayurveda is. Once you become healthy, you will stay happy and you will focus on dharma, artha, kam, and moksha. Is four objective of a living person, human being. Okay, here by dharma, I don't mean religion. By dharma, I mean that it has some spiritual meaning. Spirituality is dharma. Artha, you have to earn money so that you can enjoy the life's blessings. And ultimately, after successfully living your life, you part with your human body, and that is called as moksha. This is how, for realizing the four life's objectives like dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, you need to have a healthy body. And that is why Ayurveda came into being. And that is called as Ayurveda Avtaran. That is called as descent of Ayurveda on earth. Then after this is described in 4th chapter. In 11th chapter of Charak Samhita Sutrasthan, a typical chapter comes, Tistreshani Adhyay, that human being has 3 desires. One, he wants to live long. So he desires for life. He desires for continuance of life. Okay, that is Pranayashana. Then second is Dhanayashana. Yes, for enjoying the blessings of life. One has to earn money, that is called as dhanashana. And 3 is parlokashana. When it talks about parlokashana, it means life after death. My friend, just pay attention to this word, paralokashana. Life after death. What does it desire? Life after death. And what is the life after death for the human being? I understand it as life after death for the human being is his offsprings, his children growing after his death successfully. Is that okay? So praneshana, he wants to live long. Dhaneshana, of course, for long life, he will need money, so desire for money. And third, even after death, there is a stream of his genes in the world, and therefore he longs for long life, one, and then healthy, happy children. So that is what is parlokashana according to me. And with this background, Charak Samhita Sharistan chapter is designed. This Sharistan talks about what do we do to propagate healthy progeny after our death. And that is how the Sharistan starts with spiritual thing, spirituality. The first chapter is absolutely devoted to Sankhya Vedanta theory, which is nothing but spiritual sciences, philosophies. Okay, why do we have to understand these philosophies? A person who lives a spiritual life is healthy all his life. So if a would-be mother lives a spiritual life, she will give birth to healthy progeny. And that's why first chapter of Charak Samhita Sharistan is devoted to spiritual subject, philosophical subject. And then second chapter, then third chapter, then fourth chapter, fifth chapter. Eighth chapter will talk about means of giving birth to healthy progeny. So if in audience there is some Ayurvedic student or interested to person in understanding this depth, you need to understand Ayurveda. So Sharistan, why does Sharistan begin with spiritual subject? Because yes, would-be mother will give birth to healthy progeny if she lives a spiritual life. I don't translate dharma as religion. I translate dharma as a spiritual science. So this dharma is common to all human beings on earth. What does the dharma say? That we are nature and that nature is in us. Okay, so nature is you and you are a part of nature. This is called as Loka Purusha Samya. And therefore, if with this attitude, you live a life, you live a very satisfactory, calm, composed life. This is your life principle, living principle. Just understand, all human beings are like me. I am like all human beings. No, that is not where the spirit of spirituality stops. All living beings, including plant kingdom and animal kingdom, are like me, and I am like them. If this attitude is ever present in our awareness, consciousness, then we live a stress-free life. Just try to understand the word. We live stress-free life. There is no grief whatsoever. And if there is no grief whatsoever, hypothalamus will really not bother about your eating, driving, going to office, working. Hypothalamus of a grown-up person will think of reproduction, then pituitary gland, then ovary or testis, as the case may be. And therefore, first chapter of Sharistan is completely devoted to spiritual aspects. Because if you are into the spiritual thought processes, then your hypothalamus does not really bother about dhanashana and pranashana. It will think about parlokashana always, and parlokashana, as I already said, is that you want to stay in the world in the form of your healthy progeny. And that's how we understand Charak Samhita's contents. Last lecture, importance of healthy sperm. So till this point, we discussed in the last chapter that why healthy sperm is important. Healthy sperm is, of course, important for the healthy life. Then it will fertilize the ovum, and then embryo develops. And so 8th chapter of Charak Samhita will describe this process right from fertilization. In fact, the chapter begins with the intercourse, how to go for sexual mating, and then fertilization, then embryo, then embedding, and growth and development. Just see the word epigenetics. So when oocyte and sperm meet, they form a zygote, an embryo. Till this moment, genetics is involved. Then whatever happens in the growth and development of this fertilized ovum, there is something beyond genetics, and that is called as epigenetic, hotspots of epigenetic action. And 8th chapter does give you the do's and don'ts to epigenetically convert that zygote, that growing embryo into healthy fetus, and you give that person gives birth to healthy progeny. And that's how for uterine proper growth, all the measures, all the do's and don'ts are detailed in 8th chapter. So there is stage 1 from gametes to embryo endometrium crosstalk. Okay. Then stage 2 from placenta, fetus crosstalk to brain development with an overview on environmental factors as well as nutrition and teratogens. So friends, if there are Ayurvedic doctors and Ayurvedic students here, they will understand the 8th chapter of Charak Samhita this way. Whatever is described in 8th chapter of Charak Samhita is for healthy progeny. And the Sanskrit word is a very beautiful word for healthy progeny. Okay, that word is Shreyasim Prajam. Okay, a praja, a progeny. Just try to understand the Sanskrit. Progeny sounds, rhymes well with praja. So healthy progeny is Shreyasim Prajam. The adjective Shreyasi means sacred. Okay, means Kalyankarak, means Pavitra. Okay, so if you want Shreyasim Praja, healthy progeny, physically, mentally, and spiritually, what you should do to get that kind of progeny is described in this chapter. So that you get Gunavat Apatyam. Okay, and that is why the chapter is described. So the complete chapter, I will not take you through the content of the chapter, but then in uterostimuli, if one smokes, drinks alcohol, is on drugs, then it will certainly affect the birth. And therefore, all the do's and don'ts rise from 1st month to 9th month, even after post-delivery. All those do's and don'ts are meant for epigenetic alterations, because whatever genetic aspects you want are there as sperm and ovum meet. But then for AP, beyond genetics, whatever changes you want to make can be made by making certain lifestyle modifications, which will have a beneficial effect on in uterus growth and development of the fetus, so that after the end of 9 months, person gives a birth to a healthy child. This is what we have seen This is called as epigenetic modulation. Just try to understand, my friends, smoking, bad eating habits will badly affect the whole thing. And this epigenetic modulation does not only stay with the offspring, but then it spreads to the future generations as well. That was what we had discussed. A woman who smokes while pregnant induces epigenetic changes in 3 generations at once, in herself, her unborn daughter, and her daughter's reproductive health. Now just try to understand the meaning of Shreyasim Praja. Once you have a healthy progeny, that healthy progeny is not only physically healthy, that progeny will be Shreyashi, Kalyankarak, sacred, divine kind of a nature, who will transfer the goodness through the generations. And that's why Shreyashi Praja is the word used. And for that kind of Praja, you need to follow the do's and don'ts which are described in Charak Samhita. Just try to understand, if the mother is not healthy, she suffers from diabetes or obesity. We have known for some time that children of mothers who had gestational diabetes are at greater risk of obesity and poor control of glucose. This new research implies that epigenetic pathways could be involved. And therefore, instead of smoking, instead of bad living conditions, instead of drinking, you should go for healthy life, healthy living, healthy habits during all your 9 months of pregnancy, so that positive epigenetic changes occur in the fetus's body and the child born is very, very healthy, not only during childhood, but then this will grow up as a healthy adult, fully functional adult being, and that will your third Ashana, that is Parlok Ashana, realize it. Just see, I did mention about this. There are a number of do's and don'ts. Okay, the effect of maternal my pregnant colleague came to me, sir, what do I do for, you can tell me some experiments, etc., etc. She was already on vitamins, minerals, etc., etc. So I told her that before you go to bed, before sleeping, just count 1 to 100, thinking that 1 plus 1 becomes 2, 2 plus 1 becomes 3, 3 plus 1 becomes 4, something like that. You may take 5 minutes to reach from 1 to 100. So when you add number 1 like this, you are really teaching your fetus mathematics, not only addition, but multiplication as well, because multiplication is addition number of times. And then I told her that once you reach 100, go back from 100 minus 1, 99, 99 minus 1, 98, 98 minus 1, and 2 minus 1, 1, 1 minus 1, 0. And you will have a great effect on the fetal brain. And this is published. I told her this experiment because I love maths. But then after I told her this, I thought that I should Google it, and I got this reference: the effect of maternal mathematical activities on the fetal brain. The possibility of enhanced cognitive abilities in children as a result of maternal mathematical and geometrical activity during pregnancy may revolutionize maternal care and prenatal management, leading to fetal programming, in which it will be possible to permanently enhance, I read again, fetal programming, in which it will be possible to permanently enhance the child's cognitive abilities through maternal mathematical practice during pregnancy. A small habit, a small exercise before going to bed and on waking up the other day, if it makes so much effect, what kind of beneficial effects we will get if we follow all the do's and don'ts as described in Ayurveda's Jati Sutriya chapter. Charak Samhita is 8 chapter, Sharestan is 8 chapter. Just try to understand this. So a simple calculation like this during pregnancy will lead brain development of the fetus, and that will lead to enhancement of child's cognitive abilities. A great thing. Okay, so we need to have this aspect in mind. Just see this. Abhimanyu learns how to enter the view, but then when Krishna or Arjun starts talking about how to come out of that viewer, chakra view, the Subhadra doses off. And the fetus does not really learn how to come out of it. So he knows how to enter the chakra viewer, but then because she slept, he could not understand anything, and he found it difficult to come out of that chakra viewer. This is how the story goes, that if you teach fetus learns. And that's how I think epigenetic action takes place during the Garbha. So Dr. Nutan is a practitioner. She has already written a book, Garbhasanskar. She will really tell you certain do's and don'ts so that healthy progeny is the result of, is the outcome of the whole thing. And that healthy progeny keeps our name alive even after our death. That is what is Parlokeshana. So I will request Dr. Nutan to go ahead with her. Epigenetics is the branch of genetics that studies the different mechanisms that influence gene expression without direct modification of DNA sequence. So that mathematical practice, that first mass routine, regimen, second month regimen, third month regimen will help direct modification of the DNA sequence, ending in giving birth to Shreyasi Praja. Okay, so I give it to Dr. Nutan for her practical tips.